Okay, welcome to the mini paint challenge. It is week 7 this week, and we've got a really cool reference photo. I actually have it here for you guys. I can show you quickly. So we're going to be doing this little paint tube today. And if you are new here, these are the how to join the challenge. It is snowing outside today, so I figured it was good onesie wearing time. And so yeah, you can join the challenge by tagging me on social media at Josol Art and use the hashtag mini paint challenge. But we're gonna get right into it and start painting, I guess. Oh, I should show you the ones we did last week. So these are the ones we've done so far. I lined them all up the other day and put them on this little piece of paper. So it's like easier to show you guys. I like to show some of the past ones that we've done, but it's pretty cool lined up like this. But yeah, we're gonna do a little paint tube today. One of my favorite colors to use is sap green, so we're gonna be painting a little sap green paint tube. I will move over to my paint mixing scene now. So we've got the little paint mixing scene here. I do have like a little palette of colors here. I'm going to just talk about the colors that we're going to be using before we start. I'm just going to transfer them. I like to store my palettes actually in the freezer. So I like to store this one in the freezer. And then this is the one I tend to keep out. But we're going to use sap green for sure today and put that on the palette. And then I'm thinking, well, what else will we need today? I'm gonna look at the reference photo here. So I've got this little arrow and I can kind of move this around. Okay, let's see what else we need. So definitely the sap green. I'm thinking we'll go with some other fun greens today too. So I've got cadmium green over here. So I'll grab that off of my palette and put it on this one. I'm just rubbing my palette knife off on this extra little piece of towel. I cut up a bunch of like old towels, make it a little bit easier. Okay, what else should we add in there? I was almost thinking it might be nice to do a bit of phthalo turquoise in there, like with the background. Sap green, yeah, sap green. What's the next one? That one's cadmium green. My husband's gonna put them all in the description for you guys if you're watching it back, or if you're watching it now, and I think he's gonna update it like right on the spot. The next one I'm gonna put on is a phthalo turquoise. Get phthalo turquoise on there. And I'm thinking some cadmium yellow because we've definitely got some yellow tones in there. And then I think I want to put some, I have some alizarin crimson over here, which is like a red. Put that on. Oh, I have like yellow over here. I put more yellow out. Well, we will move more yellow. I'm sure we'll need lots of yellow anyway. And then we've also got some ultramarine blue as well. It's a really deep blue, and we're gonna have some like darker purple shadows that I'm thinking about doing in like the shadowy areas of the painting. I think it'll be really nice if we do the purple color. It's a nice way to do it. Okay, what else do we got? We definitely have white, so we should get some titanium white in there. There's different shades of white. And we're gonna wanna desaturate a few of the colors. So I'm actually gonna put a bit of orange on the palette as well. I like to use cadmium orange, or you could just mix a little bit of the yellow and red together to get orange as well. I'm trying to line it up in a little rainbow. It's like my favorite way to line up my palette is in a little rainbow. It just looks so pretty. Okay, let's see, what else do we got here? For the darker like cap, I'm actually gonna make it like a purplish color because I feel like purple just, I don't like using black. And I was saying that last time, I feel like black kind of makes a lot of things muddy, and I like to bring up the saturation in my paintings and make them really fun and colorful. So I try not to do that with my paint. What else do we got here? Let's see. Honestly, I think we could start with these colors and then we can maybe adjust as we go on too. But that should be good to start. Hope you guys can like see my face okay. Got like Pikachu all over my face today. Okay. Let's start with the paint tube and then we'll work out to like the colors in the background. So for the paint tube, I'm gonna start with some of the sap green because it is a sap green paint tube. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna lay the color down on our palette first. I'm gonna pick a little bit of it up, and you're gonna wanna see if it matches any of the colors like within the paint tube. So the color right at the top, that's like darker there, we can actually use the color straight out of the tube because it looks like that. Yeah, thank you, honey. Doing that. So we're gonna put some to the side. I'm gonna make like a little pile to the side here, just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. And now we're gonna put a little bit of yellow in this to brighten up the green. Brighten up the sap green a little bit, and that'll give us the colors right on the paint tube. Let's see how close that is. Yeah, that's looking about like the darker areas in the paint tube. So we're gonna save that over here. I'm gonna grab a little bit more sap green, and we're gonna start adding a bit more yellow to it for the super bright areas of the green section. So we've got kind of like this little stripe here. There's some brighter sections. So we're trying to make some of the colors just on the paint tube right now. And instead of adding white, adding yellow will kind of keep that saturation without dulling the color too much. I don't want to dull the color yet. For some of the background ones, I do want to dull the color a bit. But for right on the paint tube, I kind of want to keep some of the color there. It doesn't quite match exactly, but that's kind of what I'm going for. Now I'm going to dull this color a bit because there is a lot of kind of white highlights, but I don't want them like solid white or anything. I want to keep them more in that green tone so they're not standing out too much from everything. Okay, let's try this. Okay, it's getting close in some of those areas. We're actually going to make a slightly whiter one as well. We will have to put some more titanium white on the palette. Base colors are in the description now. Thanks, hun. Okay, you heard him. We got the base colors in the description there. It's nice because if you're watching it back, then you can kind of like pause it and make sure that you have all the colors. And if you don't, you could use colors that are close enough to these ones. Don't have to mix the colors exactly like mine. It's nice to play around with the colors we already have. I always try to use like a very limited palette when I'm painting. I don't like to have tons of pre-mixed colors. The one pre-mixed color I do have on here is the sap green. I just really like Just really like sap green. But I don't use many mixed colors actually. Okay, let's see how that looks. This is for the white areas in the green section. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. Now we've got a nice, look at that little fade. That looks really nice. Okay, and then we've got this green for the top section. I said I wanted to add purple in there, so we're gonna start working on the purple. Just gonna clean off this part that we were painting on a little bit. Okay, now when I mix purple, I like to mix a combination of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. Makes this really nice deep purple color. I think I want to err on the side of more blue for this one. Where is the purple? It's a mix of the alizarin crimson and it's a really dark color right now, but it is purple. Gotta mix them. I do actually have a purple over here. I have a manganese violet that I use sometimes, and I also have a quinacridone violet, but they're not dark enough. I really like to mix these two together because it creates this like really nice deep purple color. Okay, so I'm gonna save this purple color for the darkest areas. I'm actually gonna mix a little bit more of it just because we are gonna use a decent amount of it. I'm gonna grab a little bit more of the ultramarine blue and put that on there. Grab that out. Now we have lots of the color. I tried to err it on the side of more blue. And that's for the super dark areas. I'm gonna put that here on the side. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to also like maybe put a little bit of this mixed one to the side. I'm going to put a little bit of white in this to make a really light purple color. So that's what it looks like when you mix white into it. Can you see the purple now? There we go. Makes this really pretty purple. And I'm just matching it up to some of the areas that I want to put this purple in. So that's what I'm looking for there. That's kind of like the highlight areas, specifically the highlight areas in the little cap of the tube and then also the paint over here. I want it to have a bit of like purpley highlights. And then right now we're also going to take a little bit of this, just whatever white is left on here, and that's gonna very, very mildly brighten up this color so we can see it a little bit better. There, less dark now, just got a little bit of titanium white in it. This is still a little dark for what we want, and we actually want to desaturate this purple a little bit because it's a little too dark for the shadow areas. So I put a little bit of orange in there, the cadmium orange, and that'll help desaturate the color a little bit. too crazy, just enough to desaturate it a little bit. And then I'll hold it up again and see if that's enough for what we need. Okay, that's a bit more desaturated. I think it's a little too dark still. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow. So we don't want to add a ton of white. The yellow will help lighten it a little bit. Okay, that's looking closer to what we want. Let me match it again. Just gonna hold it up. Yeah, that's looking better. So I'm gonna put a little bit of that here. I'm gonna leave some on my palette knife and actually grab some more titanium white. Need a little bit more. Oops. Grab the titanium white lid. Okay, and then we're going to take a bit of titanium white and mix it in with this desaturated purpley color that we made. And you'll see the color comes out just a little bit different than this one that we made because we've desaturated it. And I'm going to hold it up here to see if it's kind of where we want the color to be. I think we actually need to add a bit more of this purple into it. A bit more orange. Let's see. Color is looking a little bit closer. I don't want to desaturate it too much because I do enjoy having the brighter colors with it. So that's like looking pretty good. And this, we're mixing this color. I should move the little mouse thing again. So we're mixing kind of these lighter gray colors, but we're mixing them as purple just because it's nice to have purple in the shadows. Purple is one of my favorite colors to add into the shadows. If you look in a lot of my paintings, a lot of the shadow colors are all purple just because it's really fun to play with. Okay, and then we've also got the shadows kind of at the bottom of the paint tube too. We're going to use some of that purple as well. And then for the lighter kind of like whitish areas, we're going to grab a bit of titanium white. We've already got some color on here. So we're going to kind of mix some of this purple that's already on here because I want some of the white areas to be kind of purpley. And then I think we're going to fade it into like a more like bluey color on the one section. So like the white on the tube on like this side is more purpley, and then we're going to go to like more of a blue on this side. So we're mixing the purples in that area now. Purpley white, just very faint purple. So it still mostly appears, yeah, so it just mostly appears white on the painting. But I thought we would have a bit more fun with color today and make it a little less realistic and try to like add a bit more color in there. Okay, so for the other white, take some of that. I'm actually, so Arvin, if you could add another color to the palette, I really like to use this color here. This one is Cerulean Blue Hue. Really love Cerulean Blue Hue. Oh, I should mention that I am using all of like Gamblin's paints. They're oil colors. Specifically, they're artist oil colors. They're like professional grade oil colors. So we're just going to take on just the tip of our palette knife, just Cerulean Blue Hue. Yeah. Just going to take a little bit of it because it's very pigmented. I feel like I say that a lot. On all the streams, I'm like, that color is super pigmented. Don't use too much of it, especially when you want just a little bit in it. I love that about that hue. Such a vibrant hue that they made. Okay, let's see how that looks and see if it's kind of like the blue we want. I actually wanted a little bit more blue. Just a little bit more. And that'll add a nice kind of contrast between the purple. It'll kind of bring more cool colors into the painting. It's a very cool color painting, I realize, because we've got lots of greens and purples, and now I'm adding blue as well. Those are all the cool colors. And then our warm colors are like red, orange, and yellow. Kind of affects like the vibe of your painting when you're using one or the other. Definitely more of a cool painting. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's exactly what we want there. That is a great color. So we're going to put that like right underneath there. Just going to stack it up into a nice little pile. I like to have nice little piles to work off of because it's just like a little bit more organized, easier to tell like what color I mixed for where. So if you can organize your palette in like a similar way, it can really help. Palette organization is one of those things, like you find stuff that like works best for you and the way that you paint, but I definitely like lining my little paints up on the side. It helps me out. Okay, now we're gonna work on the background colors. Yeah, we're gonna work on the background colors now. I chose this like funky background. You don't have to do the funky background if you don't want to. I also posted like on my on the YouTube community tab, I posted another photo without kind of like the painted background on it. So if you just like, we're gonna paint just the tube first, and you could like add a little shadow to it if you want, and then like stop there if you don't want to paint the background. But there's two photos there, so you can choose what you like. But I figured it might be kind of nice to have a little bit of a background. Especially something like this, it shouldn't be too hard to paint a background like this because we're not going to copy all of the brush strokes exactly. We're just going to kind of play around and do like similar colors. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm yawning, clearly I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm gonna grab some of the phthalo turquoise. This is such a pretty color. And I figured phthalo turquoise would be really pretty in the background. I'm just gonna add a little bit of white to it and it'll lighten it up. Look how pretty that is. And actually add a little bit of yellow to it, I think. Make it a bit more green so we don't have to add too much yellow. Sorry I'm late. Doggos took longer despite our freezing temps. Oh man, it's snowing here too. It's so cold now. It's getting like really cold in Victoria. They actually shut down the school buses today, so we had to walk our kiddo to school. I mean, not that he takes the bus, but we had to walk to school because the roads are really crap out there and I didn't want to drive him today. So my husband did the trek in the snow with him just so we didn't have to take the car. Just shoveling the driveway would have been a lot getting out there this morning. That's why we've got like the onesie vibes on this morning. I figured another excuse to wear another onesie. Okay. I mean, I kind of like this one. This one's kind of nice. I just really like this color. I think that'll be a nice color to use. So I'm gonna put that on my palette. This is like the background colors right now. I'm gonna lighten this color up. Kept a bit of it on my palette. We'll just lighten it up for the white kind of, oh man, -4. I don't know what it is right now, but it's definitely in the negatives to be snowing out there right now. It's so weird. I thought we weren't going to get snow in Victoria this year. Vancouver Island doesn't normally get a lot of snow, so so much snow. I don't mind it. It'll be fun to play in later, but it's not so much fun to drive in. I think that's the only part. I was saying that the other day because I was like kind of complaining about the snow. I'm like, I just really don't like driving in it. Shoveling your car, having to scrape off the windows. Icy, not snow. Okay. Yeah, well, icy's not great. Especially for driving, right? Okay. Kind of like how this color fades. That's kind of nice. Do you want to build a snowman? Okay, we're not going to turn this into a singing stream. It's not my strongest talent, we'll say that. I'll take snow over -40. Oh man, -40. Yeah, I have friends up in the Yukon that definitely have -40 up there. Or 30 or 40. I think they did have -40 for a while there. State of emergency, roads closed to non-essentials. Yeah. Yeah, when it gets icy, it's like super dangerous. And around here, like I don't think they're allowed to put salt on the roads here, so it's just sand. So we just have like dirty, sandy streets that doesn't really help to melt all of the ice. But I guess it's better for the environment to not have salt all over the roads, so they're doing something good. Well, that's a pretty color. Just having fun mixing these colors now. They're not exactly... Hi, Mona. Oh, Mona wants to say hi to everyone today. Oh, okay. She likes to be a baby. Hi, Mona. We sold snowman cookies over the holiday season. I sang to customers, you want to eat a snowman? Oh. And every time I see the word snowman, I'm like, do you want to build a snowman? Hi, Mona. She's so cute. Her little face. She's like, I just want to like cuddle because it's snowy and cold outside. I know. Okay, I'm gonna put you over here. I love you, Mona. Alright, we gotta do the other green color in the background. It's like a yellowy green we got going on in the background for that. Grab some of the yellow out. Oh, I accidentally added orange in there. yellow, maybe a little cadmium green. Green, let's see how that's looking. And then we're gonna lighten it with a little white. They're almost kind of like pastel-y colors in the background. I'm gonna keep the darker green, but I'm also gonna do a lighter green too. And we'll see how that looks. Hopefully the background turns out okay and it doesn't mess up the painting. Should be fun though. We're just gonna make it work. Experimenting. Well, that's a nice color. Thank you for making your solvent-free videos. It really helped me understand oil paint better. Oh, you're welcome. I kind of figured it would be fun to make those. I get so many questions about like the solvent-free stuff, like specifically over on Instagram. And yeah, oil paint can be kind of confusing when you first start. Like when I first started oil painting a few years ago, I was like, there's just like so many things, and then you hear about like all of these like toxic chemicals and stuff, and it made me like not want to try it for a long time because I thought you had to use like, you know, like turpentines and all of the other solvents that are made. But it's nice to know that you can just like use like traditional kind of oil paints and like traditional oils that were used like from all the masters and stuff, because the turpentines and stuff weren't invented until later on kind of in the art scene. So it's nice to know that you can kind of go back to those times and your paintings still last just as long as the old masters. So I'm glad you enjoyed the video. It was a really fun video to make. I'm trying to decide on what I want to make for the video this weekend, or if I'm just going to release like a time lapse. I'm trying to do more talking videos or like explanation videos, and they're fun to make. I feel like it kind of helps me understand things a bit more too when I do a bit more research for the videos and figure out, you know, like writing the scripts and stuff for them. It's kind of fun. Oh, wasabi green again. Yeah, exactly. Wasabi green. I love wasabi. So good. Oh yeah, that's a nice color. It is like a wasabi green. I should paint wasabi at some point. I could paint specifically the root, or I could just do a like plate of sushi with like a pile of wasabi on the side. That'd be so good. And then I'm thinking for the shadow parts there, I will actually just do more of like a purple color for the shadows in kind of like on the side of the paint tube. I'm gonna use like the deeper purples for it. Explanations are definitely too. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy making them. Yes, the acrylic dry time is just frustrating no matter what medium I use. Yeah, and I painted with acrylics before this, and it was always so frustrating because I'm like, oh, I just want to like be able to blend the colors and mix things a little bit more. And it's really frustrating like not being able to, you know, like work on something. Like I can work on something for a few days now, specifically when you're using like the oils instead of solvents anyway. You get like a longer dry time, so it's just like you can work the paintings a lot longer, which is nice. Okay, I'm going to transition over to the paint scene now. I'm going to make sure my lights are on it enough so you guys can see. I got to move my camera so you can see me over here. But yeah, it's encouraging to hear other people enjoying the videos that I'm making. So I definitely will make more this year like it. And I'm trying to make them also like short and like very like to the point and easy to comprehend, because it's you know, it's kind of boring to sit through a video where someone's just like blabbing on, going crazy, just talking about all the different things. And so like trying to like do direct and to the point, so it's like easier for people to comprehend. Just like less information in one video, so it's not too crazy. Definitely good in paint sushi, yeah. Definitely need to, I actually have a few pictures of sushi. Maybe we should do sushi for the mini paint challenge at some point. I'll try to find some of my old like sushi pics, or I could just make more sushi and take more pictures. Okay, quick water break. Hopefully that wasn't like too ASMR for you guys. Okay, I think we got everything good for that scene. I'm gonna move my rag over here. Now I'm gonna be using a linseed oil. I've just got a bit of linseed oil in here. This is for cleaning my brushes off in between colors. And then I'm also going to, I think I'm gonna grab a bit of the Gamblin solvent-free gel today too. So this is the solvent-free gel that I use here. Gamblin makes some pretty awesome products. I'm gonna put it maybe in the corner here so you guys can see if I dip my brush into it. I might shift things around a little bit if I need to, because I might need some extra like mixing area here. And eat while you paint. Yes. Oh my gosh. I will, maybe I need to do that. I need to do like a sushi stream where I make sushi and I'm like eating sushi and painting sushi. But I guess I shouldn't eat and paint at the same time. We still don't want to eat the pigments, right? That's always the worry, like eating or drinking stuff like around your paints. I try not to eat while I'm painting, so then I don't get paint in my mouth. Okay, I'm just setting up my camera here. I'm gonna film a time lapse again. So then you guys have a time lapse to watch at some point. I just feel like the time lapses are like super fun to be able to like make and film. It's like a quicker version of these painting tutorials that I'm doing. Okay, let's see which brushes we want to use. So I'm gonna start with the paint tube. I'm thinking I'll use I always end up grabbing like my number 4 brushes. Got a number 4 brush. It's a Josol blender brush. Just gonna use like this little one here. I like to use the Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. And it's just like a little flat one. They're Josol blenders, but it's kind of like a flat brush. Okay. Where should we start? I said the paint tube. We'll definitely start with the paint tube. Let's, oh right, we actually have to use our little gummy eraser first and dab off the sketch. We shouldn't paint over top of the sketch. I've done that a few times and it's really hard to, put lighter colors on this graphite, because the graphite just shows through so easily if you're painting on the graphite. Just dab a little bit of this off. I did a very basic sketch. I was saying last week, if you have a hard time with like sketching too to start, like literally just take your paper, put it over your computer screen, like, and trace it. Just trace the image to start out. That's how I think a lot of us learn how to draw is just like tracing to begin with and just get an idea of where things go on the paper. And even now I still trace sometimes because I find it's nice to, like, when I line it up on the computer nicely and I'm like, oh, it's going to be really hard to like get the dimensions in exactly the spaces that I want, and you just trace. And it really helps out, especially when you're beginning, to just like get painting a lot faster, because sketching is like a whole different set of skills. And I've done a lot of sketching. That was the medium I actually used the most before this, because like as a kid, like my parents didn't have a lot of money to buy like a ton of art supplies, so they would always buy me like sketching supplies or like pencils, erasers, just basic sketchbooks, some acrylic paint sometimes, but I mostly just learned how to sketch to begin with. Most of my art classes and stuff that I took were on sketching and like different forms and stuff when I was in high school. I was actually saying this to my husband the other day, but like I didn't go to university or college for art, but my school, like my high school, actually had like an arts and technology, like high skills major. And so they just had like a lot of arts and tech programs. So I realized I did get a lot of art exposure in my teenage years because I took every single art course that they had in high school. That was what I did. And I wanted to go to like college or university for art, but most people around me were like, you can't make money doing art. Art's dumb. It's not going to pay well. And so like I never pursued it. And also it was really expensive to go to school. I was never able to afford to go to university or college. So it, it's okay. You can be an artist without going to school. And I now say that too, because I don't think you really need to go to a university to be an artist. But I guess some people would think otherwise, but I think you can be self-taught and like take classes here and there. Like I wouldn't even consider myself self-taught because I take like local classes and stuff sometimes, and I've learned about color theory and stuff from other people, right? Okay, we're gonna start painting now. Okay. I'm thinking we'll start out with the darkest areas in there. Let's go with, should we just like paint the paint blob first? Because it's like the darkest green color. That'll be kind of fun. Okay, let's do the darkest like little paint blob first. Should have actually chose a smaller brush. This paint blob is actually kind of tiny. One second while I quickly switch brushes. Yeah, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I'm just using a #1 round brush. We want to leave some room for like highlights kind of in the one section. Should be able to add some like highlights on top of this color as well. There we go. Now we're going to bring some of this green up into the lid color. there is a lot of like little green on the lid there. Okay. And now there's kind of like more of like this darker desaturated purple here for the, what do we call this, like the metal part of the tube at the top here. I'm even going to add some of these lighter colors into it. Like a purpley metal is what we're making at the top here. We can always go back in and like touch it up after, but that's kind of like what we're going for to begin with. And when I'm cleaning my brush, I just dip it in the linseed oil a little bit and I just dab it off on the cloth, and then I'll get most of the pigment off with a few dabs. Okay, we're gonna, I guess, just kind of like work our way down the tube, and then we'll go back in and add the highlights afterwards. I don't want to add too many highlights right now. So we've got the green stripes. I'm going to go in and do the darker areas of the green stripes first. So right along, I guess, the edges here. Like I said, we'll go back in and add the highlights because there is definitely some highlights in these dark green areas. Well, they're not really highlights, they're like reflections in the paint tube because the paint tube is a little bit shiny. I'll go back in after and I'll show you how I add those in. And it's easy enough to go back and like blend it later on. Like I was saying, with oil paint, they don't dry as quickly. So you can kind of go back in and blend it, and you don't have to work on one area and then move on. You can kind of just like do the whole thing and then go back in and like add highlights and stuff afterwards, and it'll blend nicely still. Okay, and then we've also got kind of, there's a darker area here because there is kind of like a bent part in the tube here. I want to keep some of the bendy parts of the tube just because I think it'll look nice. Give it a little bit more texture, and that's where we're going to put some of the like purple in this area. Okay, now we're going to work on the next color down, which is this nice green. Slowly work on getting that one in. I feel like the round brush is really nice to use right now just because there's such tiny details that we're adding. I'm kind of like blocking it in, but there's definitely like just a smaller area. We're not really blending things in too much right now. I'm going to go back and blend it afterwards as well. let me see. Kind of stepping back, seeing if I'm putting the colors where I want them to go. Kind of have like a darker area over on this side as well. I can even move this around. So we're working on the paint tube right now. I'm gonna go in with a slightly lighter color. Just gonna clean it off a bit so we don't get too much of the dark color on there. Slowly work our way down. It's okay if you leave a bit of linseed oil on the brush too, because it'll thin the paint a little and make it a little bit easier to spread anyway. Add the lighter colors to this area too now. Okay, now we're going to add a lighter green. Go in and add the lighter green a little bit into the shadow area here. I'll probably lighten up a few of these highlights a bit more at the end, but for now they're pretty good. Kind of missed a darker green on the side here, so I'm going to go back up to this green there and just block in a bit more of this darker green on the edge. Bring it right down to the edge of the paint tube as it's curving around. Now, don't worry too much about making your edges super clean right now. We can go back in and we can touch up the edges. What do you do with your paint towel when you're done? So you want to make sure that you take your paint towels and you just kind of like drape, like I have a bunch of them draped over my easel right now. I'm like looking at a bunch of them. I'll have to take a picture at some point, or maybe even do a video on that, on how to store them. But yeah, pretty much you just like make sure you drape them over something so they're not like in a stack of a bunch of dirty ones, because if you kind of like pile them up together, it can like light on fire. It's like a fire hazard. So you want to be careful with oil paint, because as it dries, it like creates like friction, and something within the process can like ignite it on fire just from like having it all in one area. So you want to like leave it, let it dry, and then when they're fully dry, you can like throw them in the garbage afterwards. but you want to make sure they have dried for a few months before you do that, because you don't want to throw them in the garbage bag and close it up, sealing them up. Some people actually, I think, put them in like an old like paint can, so they'll take like a metal paint can and they'll like close it, like especially if people are using like solvents and stuff. But like I find these don't really stink or anything, because I don't use solvents at all. And you should be able to just like leave them out to dry and they'll be okay. But yeah, I don't do anything like super fancy with them. Okay, I get this like really light green color now on my brush. I'm gonna put it in the highlights a bit. And yeah, I remember doing like a little class on oil painting safety, and that was one of the first things that the instructor talked about. So just being safe with your oil paints so you don't light your house on fire. Okay, just adding little highlights to different areas of this green part. And okay, let me see. Might go back in now and blend some of it. So I've got these like blender brushes. They're like little, they're really old brushes that have been a little bit damaged on the ends, but they're really good for, I'm not going to put anything on the brush. I'm just going to kind of dab it. And then I'm going to make sure I wipe the brush off while I'm dabbing it. Get any like excess paint off. I need to like brighten up some of these greens in the shadow sections. Just got a cloth right beside here. Slowly dabbing things off as I go. We'll come up and touch up the edges when we're adding the other paint. That's okay for now. My lips are really chapped. Put some chapstick on. Okay, we're gonna work on the paint tube section now. I'm gonna slowly start adding in kind of like the purpley sections. So I'm gonna work my way from the shadow. Trying to clean off this brush because I originally put green on it and I don't really want green on that area. And if it gets really dirty, just flip it inside out or flip it over so you can keep dabbing it off. And that'll be okay. Okay, so we'll go in, I think, with this kind of like desaturated purple that we made. And this will be good for right on the edge over here. My camera keeps moving. Slowly work on these sections here. And it might seem really dark right now, but we will lighten it up a bit as we add other colors. This color will lighten up a bit. That's why we add the dark first. And we're gonna get some of the darker areas over here. Kind of like how the end of my tube is like crinkly too, because I use like this paint little roller thing and it makes it like crinkly on the side. I just love the look of the crinkliness. Helps to squeeze out the paint. I'm glad I got that paint squeezer. Having the paint squeezer has saved a lot of paint. Like, they just look so cool when they've got the like little crinkliness. They also just sound cool. They're like a little fidget toy after that. Okay, we're gonna go in with this slightly lighter purple. And I'm gonna slowly add in all of the areas that are a bit darker. They're kind of the shadow areas on the paint tube. Slowly add in those. And they won't look as dark when we get some of the other colors blended in around it. But for now, this is... And you see when you don't use black and you just desaturate like a purple color, the shadow area just looks like more vibrant. At least I feel like it just like brings out a really nice color to everything. Trying to match it up with the darker areas that I made there. And I made some darker areas over here as well. Just trying to match those up a bit. Okay, now we're going to add the lines for the bottom section with this other color we made. Okay, we're going to try to add the lines like straight across if we can. As straight as we can make them. Okay. And this last section is actually a little bit darker. Okay, now we're just gonna slowly add in this purple here that we made. It's like a very white purple. And this color is gonna be what kind of lightens up the shadow areas. We're gonna slowly blend that into all of the shadow areas here. Got a little bit of green in my brush there. Go back in. Make this middle section a bit more of the blue-white color. Slowly add in lines at the bottom. We can slowly blend these out as we add in the white. I'm just adding just a little bit of this whitish purple to this area. You don't want to put too much paint on your brush at once. I like to start out with just a little bit of paint, and then you can go back in and add more if you need to, because we're trying not to glop on the paint too much here. Kind of adding like a base layer almost, and then slowly go back in and add a little bit more paint if we need to. Because we're gonna go back in anyway and like add highlights and stuff there, specifically with kind of like the more bluish white color. You'll really see it kind of come together. I'm just cleaning off my brush now, and then we'll go in with the bluish white. Because right now the white in the background does not look good with it. I was saying the other weeks that if you're having trouble with adding colors to your paper, make sure you like tone your paper, or like do like an underpainting with something beforehand. That'll help you get a better idea of where to put things. I like painting on white because I like to use the white in the background a bit for my highlights. But you don't have to paint like me. I started out with underpaintings when I first started, and it did help a lot with establishing like where the values were. And values are like the light and dark areas of your subject. So a darker value would be kind of like these areas, and then the lighter values would be the highlights that we're adding right now. It's easier to add on like a white color when the background is not white. But as you get to know your paint more, you don't really need to, because you just kind of like understand how your paint is going to affect certain areas, if that makes sense. You just have a better idea of how they'll look later on in the painting. It's a trust the process part. And it'll come together. Adding a little bit of the blue kind of into these highlights a bit. When I'm getting really close to the green color, I'm just making sure I dab off the paint a little bit before I go back in, so then it doesn't get these colors like super green. Trying to keep the green out of there if I can. Because with oil paint, it's like really easy for the colors to like blend together because they don't dry, right? Not super fast anyway. That's why some people wait between layers, but I've always enjoyed painting alla prima, which is like all in one go. Just like to get them all on there. You definitely end up with like a different style at the end when you do alla prima, but it's just, I love alla prima. It's nice to try to get like a painting done all in one go, and I try not to go back to my paintings either, because I just, it's like when I'm done, I'm done. I think it makes them a little bit like unique, not going back and feeling like you need to like perfect things, because I don't feel like art should be perfect. I don't think there's ever really perfect art per se. I think art should be fun, and you shouldn't feel pressure to, you know, live up to making your art look like super realistic or, you know, a specific art style. I had some really good art teachers that talked a lot about that in school, and, you know, encouraging kids that, you know, you don't just have to be like a realist artist to be successful in the art world. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of start out with, thinking that everything needs to be super realistic. And if you just explore like different styles, like I used to do like a lot of like abstract art and stuff, and I try to add some of like abstract art into my art sometimes, like especially with the background today. I'm like, oh, yeah, we'll do like kind of like a nice painterly background. It adds those like abstract vibes into it, but you know, with a little bit of mixed in realism, right? I would consider like the type of art I do, like kind of more of like a painterly realism, because I like to see like the brush strokes in my art. It's just kind of like what I've gravitated towards. But I wasn't really like, you know, like when I started painting, I just started painting the way I wanted to paint, and I think that's the best way to like approach painting, is not always like, you know, like it's nice to take classes and learn different techniques you can apply to like what you enjoy doing, but I think in the end it's like you just do what makes you feel good and what you enjoy painting, and your own style kind of forms from that. And I've tried a lot of, you know, different styles, but I've always gravitated towards more of the realist, painterly style, and so I just kind of have stuck with it now. I also like to do the mini paintings because I just think it's like really fun to add like such tiny details to things. Okay, I'm gonna add some of the highlights in this paint section now, because it definitely needs some highlights, and I'm going to go with more of the blue highlights, I think, for it. I'll try to add that end there. Very tiny highlights along the edge, so let's see how close we can get that. It's a good highlight. Just keep wiping off my brush because you're going to get a little bit of green in it when you're adding highlights over top of the darker color. That's looking pretty good. I actually want to add a little bit more green into the cap part, or into, what is this part here? I think I made it a little bit too white. And then I'll go back in with this brush and try to add those little details. So I'm going to add in more of this like green color to the cap here. There we go. That's coming along now. I hope that's like bright enough for you guys too. It looks like it's definitely like less bright on the camera there. Camera's always gonna distort the colors a little bit. Everyone's monitor is so different. I think that's why I like live painting classes. Sometimes you get a better idea of what the colors are, like actually like in-person classes versus, maybe at some point I'll host some like in-person classes. That would be fun. I see all these like artists doing like painting retreats and stuff. Like that would be so cool to do that someday. It's in the works. Doing a cool painting retreat. Okay, I'm gonna start with this beautiful purple color, super dark purple, and we're gonna start working on like the lid section. And then we'll go back in and add highlights to the lid afterwards. So we've got a very deep purple kind of going around this area first. And then add a bit more purple kind of in the middle section here. I'm going to add more paint as we go on, but we're just kind of adding a base layer of paint right now. Okay. It's another trust the process point. Okay, we're going to take some of this desaturated purple, and I'm going to add a bit of that in to these dark areas here. And there's only like a little bit of highlight in this thing. I'm going to be really sparing with the highlight on that one. It's a very subtle highlight. I'm going to go in with this slightly lighter purple. Okay, I'm actually going to take a very, very fine liner brush. I have one in here. There it is. It's a 20/0 liner brush. It's another Princeton Velvet Touch one. I'm actually going to go in with this like super light purple color, and that should be bright enough. I'm going to add a bit of this solvent-free gel that we have, just to make it a little bit more runny. We're going to go in very carefully with this, kind of around this rim part here. And then we're going to go in this area. I'm going to glop that on a little much. Go back in with a bit more dark purple. I'm a little too crazy with that highlight there. The nice thing is you can just put a little bit more dark area on it if you need to, if you added a little too much highlight in one area. Very, very subtle. Kind of highlights there. I'm going to grab a little bit of this blue. Grabbed a little bit more of the solvent-free gel just to add in this area here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. It's kind of jagged around the edge, but I'm not going to do too much of that because it's like you kind of have to decide, like especially with mini paintings, I love this aspect of it, is you kind of decide what details to leave in and what details to leave out, because you really don't need to like add every detail for you to get like the general idea of what you're going for. Now we're going to add some of the shadows in these areas. So I'm going to use purple for the shadows. I'm going to go in with this kind of desaturated purple that we made. We're going to put it along the edges. I'd actually want to go with a little bit of the dark purple too. Go in with the darker purple first and then fade ourselves out on the edges. Yeah, we'll go with the dark purple first and fade out because it's like really dark along the edge area there. then we'll go in and add like a fun little background to this. I'm actually not going to bring the shadow all the way to the end because I want it to look like the end is kind of like bent up a bit. And we're going to add a bit of the darker part here. We're going to blend these shadow out, or the shadow out after. And we've also got the darker shadow underneath there. Okay, we're going to grab the slightly lighter purple now, and we're going to just put it along the edge. Take this slightly on the edge of these shadows. Okay, now we'll go with a lighter purple as well. Maybe mix these two together, like a slightly lighter purple. This will be the brightest part of the highlight. Oops, I added a little too much there. Okay, we'll go back in and fix that. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back in with, I'm gonna actually use another one of these smaller blenders. Take that off a bit. And I'm just gonna be dabbing it off on the cloth that's right beside my easel. So as I'm working into this, I'm gonna dab it off, just to take off some of the pigment so the brush kind of stays dry. And this will help us get a nicer like faded blend here. Okay, how is that looking, guys? That's looking pretty good. Gotta blend in this section here. I'm just adding a little bit more of this lighter color. looking pretty good. Just grabbing a little bit of titanium white kind of on the end. That's looking pretty good. So you could stop here if you want. I'm gonna add, like I said, the fun background in, just because I think the fun background is kind of nice. And don't have to go too crazy with this. Blend this out. So if you were to leave this, you would probably want to blend out this like a little bit more. Can touch up the highlights, I guess, a little bit more in the paint tube or on the paint tube. Just like blending this out like that will make it look a little bit nicer. There we go, that looks pretty good. So in the paint tube, we could add a bit more highlights in certain sections. I'll show you where we're gonna add that before we move on. I'm just gonna grab my really fine liner brush. I'm gonna use some of this blue highlight. I'm gonna put a little bit of linseed oil on my brush just to blend that around a bit. Make it a little easier to work with. The paint is a little more fluid. It will take a little longer to dry when you add more linseed oil, but it just makes the paint so much nicer to work with. And I'm just adding highlights along the edges here. Where I think it could use it the most. And then there's actually some highlights in this area here. Didn't actually paint this kind of the bluey white color. I want this section to be a lot brighter. Kind of got a bit on here. Just gonna blend that out. Go. And we're gonna add a little bit more highlight into this metal part here. Just because there is like shiny parts in the metal, like even in the highlight area. And now, I was saying this before, but there's actually a little bit of a like reflection goes into this area a bit in the shadow. And what I'm gonna do, I dabbed off my brush a little bit and I'm gonna kind of blend it in with the paint that's already there, but that'll add that highlight that was in the shadowy section. Actually did a course on light and how it affects objects and stuff. If you can ever find a course on light and objects and reflections and stuff, it's really helpful for your painting. And learning how light reflects through things can really open up your eyes to like different aspects of the way that we see things. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit of a highlight in this bottom section too. They're very subtle, but they're there. Just right along the edges, and it really makes like the paint tube stand out a little bit more. It's crazy how like just these like slight highlights we're adding is really gonna make a big difference when it comes to the way that it looks in the end. I think that's looking pretty good now. Oh, it's so cute. I love this. Arvin, you should like help me decide if you're watching right now, if I should like not do the background. Because I really like this. It's so cute. I don't know, I'm kind of liking it without the background today. Should I risk it and like try to do the background? Sometimes that happens and like, you know, I have an idea in my head, but then I go to paint and I'm like, I kind of like it without the background. It's like so simple and I just think it looks so nice like this. Just adding kind of like little dots as highlights. Let's see. kind of like how this looks. That looks good. I'm gonna take my one blender brush that I was using. Actually, I do have this one that I think will blend out the shadow a little bit nicer. Take a little bit of titanium white on it. It's called a mini mop brush. I'm just gonna blend out these areas a little bit more. Just on the edge. That helped a little bit. Just touching up the edges around here. Hey, how's it going? We are just painting a paint tube today. Very like chill painting session today. It's like snowy where we are. Thank you. I'm debating on if I actually want to add the painterly background in right now because I kind of like it without it right now. I came up with this idea to like make like a painty background, but I'm kind of liking just like the white background right now. It's like a really nice contrast. So I'm debating on if I'm like almost finished with this now. I'm like touching up some of the highlights in it. But yeah, it's really snowy here today. So I figured really chill paint stream today. We're getting that in there. Highlight, there we go. What part of the world are you watching from? I'm over here in Canada right now. It is 11:45 a.m. where I am. I appreciate that. Thank you. Add a little bit of stuff over here just to blend this one out a little bit more. It's 1:15 a.m. here. Oh man, late for you. I was actually up really late last night too. I like couldn't sleep, so I was like setting up for the stream instead of going to bed like I was supposed to. I think I was up till like 2 a.m. last night. Sometimes you just like can't sleep. I was like so excited to paint. Like I almost wanted to paint in the middle of the night last night. But I was like, no, I gotta go to bed. 10 Celsius out here. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot warmer than here right now in Canada. Normally we don't get a lot of snow. I don't even know what the temperature is here right now. It's probably not lower than like maybe -4 right now. -4 isn't too bad. There's other parts of Canada, like I have some friends that live in northern parts of Canada. I was just saying that earlier, that it's really cold in some other parts, so. I always wondered if it'd be easier to do background first, especially gradients, but I guess depends on paint coverage. Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks for tuning in before bed anyway. Sometimes it's nice to just like watch like little streams and stuff on your phone before bed. I'm glad you could tune in, even though it's like super late. I really should try to do the stream at like different times at some point, because I know that not everyone can like really tune into the stream, because it's, you know, I have followers from all over the world, so it's like hard to pick a time where everyone's going to be able to like join in. But thanks for hanging out and tuning in. Yeah, I wonder if it'd be easier to do the background first, especially gradients, but I guess depends on paint coverage. So, I mean, there's sometimes that I do backgrounds first. There's definitely a few paintings that I've done a background first because I just really want to get the background color in. But for this one, I hadn't decided if I wanted to do like the paint in the background. I'm really enjoying like not putting the paint in. Like I feel like it's just so pretty. I'm like afraid if I add the background that it might not look the way that I want it to, and I kind of like it like this already. So I'm debating on just like leaving it like this. Add a highlight around the edge here of the cap. I don't know, maybe we'll just like leave it without the background today. I did give people the option to do the background or not the background. I mean, I think the background's fun. It looks so cute like that. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that instead of adding the background because I really do like it without the background right now. So cute. Okay, is there any other places? So we could add highlights in a few other places. Kind of near the bottom. We definitely add a few more. Yeah, I thought about that too. I could do like some sort of complementary solid color. Maybe I'll like leave it like this and then decide later if I want to like add anything else. I also thought like I could put like a purpley pinkish kind of color in the background because we've already got like the purpley gradient going on here. Or not gradient, but purpley faded part on it. So, I mean, I could just add like a purple background instead. Because I feel like purple would be really nice. Or you go with more of like a pink background. I think pink would be really nice. I kind of like that idea. Maybe I should like add like a color. I know it's hard with the, I feel like the shadow turned out like really good and I'm like, oh, I don't want to mess it up now because it just looks so pretty. I think this is like one of my favorite like shadows that I've done. I love this shadow. That's one of the reasons I'm like, I don't know. We'll just keep adding highlights in it and then decide as we go on. But I do think like a pink background might look nice, like you said. Some sort of contrasting color, and green, and it's like if I use like a green and kind of like a pinkish purple in the background, that would complement it pretty nicely. But maybe I'll like sleep on it and then decide if I want to do it. It looks cute. It'll fit in with like my other paintings, because like I was saying like the other day that, so like I've got these, I guess I can like put it up here so then you guys can kind of see. But like I have this one that doesn't have a background too, and then I have this one without the background, which is still cute. We haven't done one without a background for a little while since the Rubik's Cube, so maybe we should just keep it without a background this time again. That's okay. Okay, let's just add in any other highlights we want to add here. Since we're not going to add the background, I might just like clean up the lines a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that's like the best way to do it, is if I don't know what to do, I'll just like sleep on it and potentially add it another day if I want. But I feel like tomorrow I'm gonna feel the same way, and I'm gonna just like want this without the background. It's just, it was meant to be this way. And that's okay. Honestly, it looks really great like that. Love the shadowed ripple texture, right? I love like I was saying, I love how it like has these like little ripples on it. I feel like it gives the paint tube so much like character at the bottom. It's like a used paint tube, you know? You can tell that, you know, cranked it up with the little, I don't know what to call it, paint squeezer thing. Okay, I think I really like that. I'm not gonna like mess around with it too much because I think it just like looks really good like that, and I think if I add anything else, why is my thing? I was gonna like take one last video of me we go. Okay, I'm gonna stand back and decide. I really like the way that it faded with the purple shadow, so I don't think I'm gonna do anything else with it because It's okay. It's like a quicker painting tutorial today, which is kind of nice. I like this. I love my green paint tube so much, so I'm glad I picked green, and I like took the lettering off and stuff. It's like, I like it. Okay, well, I guess I'm done painting because I like it already. That was actually like a really quick painting session. I feel like we got that done like really quick today. Like, what time is it? Yeah, we've only been mixing paint and doing this for the past 2 hours now. Didn't even get to the 3 hour mark today. This is a quicker stream. I guess that's good. So it's like even quicker than normal for beginners that just want to try something a little bit quick and easy to do, because we didn't have to like use the background colors. Maybe I'll use the background colors on like another painting. Oh, I could do another painting like this, and I could do the background for the other one, and I could have two to compare, right? Maybe later I'll sit down and like paint another one if I feel like it. Thank you. Yeah, I like this. I'm glad we decided to stop, and if I want to do another one, then I always can. I have lots of like little pieces of paper anyway. Well, I mean, I guess I'll like eat some lunch now. My husband's probably hungry. I don't think he ate breakfast, so I guess we can eat lunch a little bit early. Well, thanks for like hanging out for a little bit today, and I'll put it on the thank you scene. So if you are new here or just tuning in now, this is little mini paint challenge that I've started. This is week 7, so we have like a bunch more. You can go back and like watch all the previous ones, and also if you go to the link in my bio on YouTube, there's like a little mini paint challenge link, and it'll bring you to my website, and you can actually download the reference photos, and you guys can like do them on your own time if you want as well. My husband's actually working on a special project right now, and he is making a specific website for the mini paint challenge, so stay tuned for that. And that's where I like the reference photos, and I'm gonna set up like an email list there, I think, so then I can like email you guys like the reference photos every week, just so it's like easier, and then you don't have to like download it. It will all be like automatically sent to you. But yeah, if you want to join, tag me on social media at Meg and Josol Art, and then use the hashtag mini paint challenge, and then I can like come over and see your art. And I'd love to see like what you guys create with this reference, because it was just really fun today. And if you decide to do the background, I like to see that too, to see how the background would turn out with the little paint tube. But thanks for hanging out. There's my Instagram. I'm most active like on Instagram. It kind of like cross posts automatically to Facebook too, so if you use Facebook, I have that as well. But Instagram and Facebook are probably like the best places to tag me with those hashtags and stuff, because you can't really post on YouTube. Other than I guess on your community tab. But thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys next week. So bye.